Okay, now it's sending. Okay, and then of course, okay. So now, that should hopefully actually be working. I'm not even going to bother trying to check Twitch to see if it's working. But I am going to need to take this stuff. Why did I do this in the first place? Right, it's because I wanted to see this thing. Because this is going to troll me if I have it. Oh, but if I do this, then it'll block that. And I can only see chat. Perfect. Okay, so, okay, Castle, we can play that. Fuck it, let's go. So, episode 2 of the Pretending to be Productive stream, I have prepared some lovely podcasts about TanStack because I have to be a web shit this week, so I can make a website I want to make. And I am, as a few interviewers have told me, strongly driven by hype cycles. So I like to use the new shiny. But I totally can't because I'm relying almost entirely on Bolt.new to do that for me. And Bolt does not like to do things like... Actually, technically can do Svelte. But it won't do Deno, and it won't do Fresh. Ooh, this feels really loud to me. I'm not sure. Okay. And really dark, Jesus. One moment. Some things to kill, but yeah, I don't have the... Can I get... Oh, lovely. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Okay. Yes, so... Because I have to be a web shit, I need to... Nice. I need to do some learning. But I also want to play video games, so I'm doing that. So I have got us set up in such a way where we will have some lovely podcasts to listen to after I kill these fucking spiders. The game we are playing is Dark and Darker, in case you have not figured that out. I'm going to switch over to Deadlock after this, probably, because Dark and Darker is boring, but... But in the meantime, wait. Oh, shit. I can't. But in the meantime, we play some Darky Dark. And, next game, I will turn on some podcasts, too, so I can pretend I'm being productive, as I mentioned. This is the primary goal. Can't open this, I know, but whatever. Take that. Okay. So in case you haven't played this game before, it is PvP. That's not a person, though. But, oh my god, they made it way darker than I'm used to it being. Oh my god, and this is reinforced, dear lord. Nice. Lightfoots, oh, I think I take those. That's actually, I should probably keep that, but I don't really care. Doesn't matter. Also, gonna toss that, because fuck that shit. I don't normally play Barb, but, you know, when in Rome. Sir, please leave me alone, thank you. I think I need a bunch of those. have bolts to fuck. So somebody might run up on me at some point, so I'm kind of... 8, 9... I just guessed. I'm kind of just checking to see how my leg is while I stream. But it doesn't seem to be too bad right now. Fuck. Can I just set this shit? Sir? Don't need that. Don't need that. Trice is near here, I think. I can cheese it on this wall. 7 minutes? Fucking nice. What do we toss? I forget what the fuck's in here. Oh, is this where I came from? So. Riveteds could be good. They aren't, but... I think I do want to go downstairs on this one, if I can. I'm very surprised that my computer seems to be tolerating this as much as it is. So there's an exit there. Usually there's people here. You little shit. Hello, sir. Shit. We might get out because this is a decent bit of loot, but I don't know. I'm trying. Holy shit. Ooh, baby. Do I have any shitty ones? But I forget how you're actually supposed to get out here. I've trolled myself before doing that. It says you can, but I don't know. What the fuck? Ah, wonderful. Okay, well, first of many lag spikes, I guess. Do I have... Oh, I don't have any of my... Yeah, okay. Well, that made up our mind for us, I guess. Andy. However, isn't there... I wonder if there... I feel like there's a thing you're supposed to do here. Maybe not, though. Okay. So I remember that kills you. Oh, what's this? There we go. I don't even know if there's anybody else on the map. It feels like there isn't. And then didn't the percent stay? I feel like it did. Oh, we'll see. Yeah, I made the mistake of thinking I needed to jump out the window before. That is not how that works. Goodbye. So, largely uneventful, I'm sure. Not particularly interesting to watch, but... I think we swap over to some deadlock, perhaps, after we fix this up here. And don't I have a... Right, that, like, I don't know what that does. It's like a new thing. Let's go. These are kind of nice, actually. So I have to take all that stuff off because if I do not, I will get put in the big boy lobbies, and I don't have enough gear to do that yet. I swear I need these for something. Maybe I don't anymore, though, I'm not sure. Is there a new merchant? Is that just Expressman making that? Weird. I'm keeping these, even though I don't know if they still do that. There was a while where there was a quest for all that stuff. So let's just keep it just in case for now, until we can like look it up on a wiki or something. I'm rich. Rich beyond my wildest dreams. I have no need for that. Put that away. But, so I made a bunch of podcasts about TanStack, even though I probably won't be able to use it. Because I have a couple of things. Trying to work a couple of Avalanche bounties. And I'm trying to do the Encode Club chain abstraction hackathon while I'm at it. So I need to use Particle Connect. And then I'm gonna need to have an agent that can use a wallet that can transact on Avalanche, if I remember right. I think I would presume, right? It's because they're doing it. So I made some podcasts about TanStack, even though I probably can't use it, but I guess maybe I can just like cry because I can't use it. Kinda want to hit 10 real quick. And caves are fun. If I can make it in time. No. Squire? Equip? Cool. Let's do it. So I made... Yeah, so I have TanStack podcasts. And then I have a couple of papers that I want to catch up on, and I want to experiment with Illuminate a little bit, because I'm normally a notebooklm shill, as it were. So let's pick the thingy. And fuck it. Let's just get the first one going.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Thank you.
Today, we're going deep on TanStack Router and TanStack Start.
Oh, yeah.
You've sent us so much stuff about it, docs, guides, comparisons.
Yeah.
It seems like you really want to understand this routing system, how it all works.
I would love to, yes.
For sure.
We've got everything here, like from API routes all the way to data fetching and code splitting.
Nice.
Looks like someone is ready to step up their React game.
Definitely a good area to focus
Believe me,
on
I don't
TanStack
wanna be.
Router, and especially when you use it with Start. It's
I
really
want to
becoming the
leave
go-to for developers
React
building
game
those complex,
the rest of my
you
life.
know, modern React apps.
Okay, cool. So let's jump right in. One of the first things that kind of stood out to me was choosing between file-based routing and code-based routing. Why should we care about this distinction?
Well, think about it this way. How do you want to organize the blueprints of your application? TanStack Router supports both approaches, but they really prefer file-based routing, especially when things start to get bigger, more complex. It's all about using that structure, you know, your file
I
system,
also
to
kind of
define
need to
your
be
routes.
able to hear.
Okay, so
I
instead of
should
just
mess with
throwing all the
levels,
routes in
but
one big file,
whatever.
you're saying each route gets its
Dude
own
voice is
file
loud.
organized in folders that mirror the app structure.
Exactly. And it makes it so
Maybe it
easy to
does
see
something
and
like
maintain all your routes, and the best part. TanStack Router has this CLI that automates all that boring stuff. It helps generate configurations, stitch routes together, and it even handles code splitting automatically.
Code splitting, I've seen that pop up everywhere in these talks.
What the fuck is that?
It's a total game changer for performance. Imagine you're building like an e-commerce site with a ton of product pages. Without code splitting, the user's browser would have to download the entire application just to see one product.
That would be a pretty slow shopping experience.
Totally right. But with TanStack Router's code splitting, only the essential code for that first route is downloaded.
Isn't that
Then
just
as the
called
user clicks
fucking
around,
lazy
the
mode?
code for other
That was
parts
the
of
whole
your app
point.
is loaded on demand. This
React.
makes the initial page load super fast and just makes the whole experience better.
So it's about breaking the app down into smaller pieces that load only when needed. And TanStack Router is smart about this, right?
It's pretty clever. It looks at your routes and figures out what can be loaded lazily. They even give you a bunch of different ways to do it, like using the .lazy.tsx file suffix, or you can use virtual routes for like even more control.
Gotcha. So we've got these routes nicely organized, loading efficiently. What about the data itself? These docs keep mentioning data loading and route loaders.
Think of data loaders like chefs,
shit.
getting all the ingredients ready before they serve the dish.
Why does
In
this take like
TanStack Router,
5
each route can have a
hits
loader
from Act
function that
6?
fetches the data it needs. This
Lord.
means the data is already there when the user lands on the page. Makes the experience much smoother and faster.
It's like when you sit down at a restaurant and they already have appetizers ready. No waiting around for the main course.
Exactly, and TanStack Router even has this built-in caching system using SWR. So if you leave a page and come back, the data might already be cached. It's like super snappy.
Yes, WR, that
Dig
stands
that.
for stale while revalidate, right?
Yep, you got it. It's a really popular
got it.
data fetching strategy that makes sure the user always sees the most up-to-date data. But you still get those fast initial load times. It's like having someone always making sure data is fresh without you even thinking about it.
Okay, this is making me hungry for both information and food now. One thing I'm really
Delicious.
interested in is using search parameters for state management. I haven't really seen other routers emphasize that.
It's one of the things that makes TanStack Router different. Usually search params are just simple strings in the URL, but TanStack Router sees them as like this powerful tool for managing complex application state.
So instead of just like a simple query string, you're saying I can store complex stuff like arrays and objects in my search params.
Absolutely. They use this JSON
Okay.
first approach. So you can structure your search params just like you would structure your data in your code. And the
I
best
do
part, it
love me
has
some
built-in
structured data.
validation. So whatever ends up in the URL is type safe and it matches your application logic.
That's amazing. So you're saying I can have my state organized, validated, and easily shared through the URL. I
Where
like
do I
that a
want to
lot.
go here?
And it gets even better. TanStack
Wasting
Router has this
time,
cool
so-
feature called route masking.
Root masking. Okay, I'm curious now. What's that all about?
It's all about
There's like a
keeping
big
your
pain in the
URLs
butt up here,
clean
though,
and
from this angle.
user-friendly. But you can still have that complex state. Imagine you have a modal that pops up. But you don't want to mess up the URL with all these parameters for the modal state.
So the URL stays nice and clean. So behind the scenes, the router is keeping track of everything about that modal.
You got it. It's like having a secret compartment in your car for all your valuables. The URL looks sleek
That
and simple,
analogy, GPT?
but the router knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Speaking of behind the scenes, I noticed these docs mention server functions.
Server functions. Those are a developer's best friend for security. Think of them as like little black boxes running securely on the server, away from prying eyes on the client side.
So any sensitive logic, like
tell.
database stuff or payments, that can all be tucked away safely on the server.
Wait,
Exactly, and you can call them directly from your components or route loaders, just like any other function.
fucking
It's a really seamless way to keep your client-side code clean and secure, but you still have all that powerful server-side logic.
And it looks like they even considered accessibility. The documents mention server functions can be accessed without JavaScript.
That's right. TanStack Start, which is the framework built around TanStack Router, it lets you submit forms directly to server functions. So even if someone doesn't have JavaScript, they can still use your application.
Okay, let's shift
Alright,
gears a
somebody.
bit and talk about server-side rendering. I see ssr.md right here, and I know that's super important for SEO and performance.
Server-side rendering, SSR, it's all about rendering your app on the server before sending it to the client. This means the user sees a complete page almost instantly, so it feels much faster, and search engines love it because they can easily index the content.
And TanStack Router handles this smoothly.
It's a piece of cake. They have components like
cake.
Start Server and Start Client. Those make it easy to set up server-side rendering, and with streaming SSR, you can even start sending parts of the page to the browser as they render, so it's even
a
faster.
friend.
Okay, cool. So now let's dive into type safety. I know this is a core part of TanStack Router, and typesafety.md is packed with info about it.
Type safety is like built into the DNA of TanStack Router thanks to TypeScript. So you get all the benefits of static type checking that helps catch errors early on and make sure your code is really solid and easy to maintain.
So as I'm building my routes and components, TypeScript is working in the background, making sure I'm not messing up data types
Right.
or making mistakes that could cause bugs.
It's like having a co-pilot that double checks your work
Yeah.
and warns you before you run into problems. They've even thought about tricky situations like the component context problem. That's when you might not know the exact route at compile time.
Oh, they have a solution for that too.
They do. They use something called the from
Correct.
parameter. It lets you give TypeScript hints about the expected route context, so you still get accurate type inference even when things are dynamic.
It's impressive how they've handled all those edge cases to keep everything type safe.
It shows their commitment to developer experience.
Okay, wow, we've covered a lot already. File-based routing code, splitting data loaders, using search params as a state manager, route masking server functions, SSR, and even type safety.
It's a lot to take in, but it all comes together to create this really powerful
Where are those?
and developer-friendly routing system.
And guess what? We're just getting started.
So now that we've kind of got the foundation down, let's move on to how to make your TanStack router apps feel really snappy and responsive. Next stop is preloading.
Okay, cool, I'm listening.
Oh,
We already
don't
talked
have
about
much,
code splitting, which
unfortunately.
loads things on demand. So how does preloading fit into all of this?
Think of it this way. Code splitting is reactive, loads code when it's needed, but preloading is proactive. It's like that friend who knows what you need before you even ask.
Oh, I love those kinds of friends. So TanStack Router can like predict what I need.
Exactly. TanStack Router has all these preloading strategies. They're all in preloading.md. So let's say you have a navigation menu with links to different parts of your site. When the user hovers over a link, TanStack Router can start loading the code and data for that route in the background.
So by the time they actually click the link, the page loads super fast. That's awesome.
It's all about creating that really smooth experience, almost magical. And it's not just for hover events. TanStack Router can preload based on what the user can see in their viewport, so it can start loading content as it comes into view, like when they scroll down.
That's like next level anticipation.
Yeah.
But wouldn't preloading everything use up too much bandwidth and resources?
That's a good point, and TanStack Router is smart about it. You can control how preloading works, set stale times for preloaded data so you don't make unnecessary fetches, and you can even use caching libraries like TanStack Query for even more control.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's change gears a little bit. Handling errors gracefully, especially those annoying 404s, can be a pain for developers.
Yeah.
So what does TanStack Router do about that?
TanStack Router has you
I really
covered,
like the
especially for those
slingers
page not
fucking
found situations.
Ah.
The document not found errors.md explains it really well. It's pretty cool how they handle it. They have this thing called fuzzy mapping. It tries its best to find the closest parent route that has a not found component.
So if a user hits a dead end instead of just seeing a generic 404 page, they might see parts of the layout they were expecting,
Ooh, somebody
but
got
with a
bonked.
custom error message in that section.
Exactly. It's way more user-friendly.
Oh
And
man,
it
there's
keeps
a
some
ton
of the
people
visual
that
context so
were
it's
meaning
not
to
as
murder.
jarring. If you want, you
Oh,
can
me
always
too.
switch to root mode. That handles all not found errors at the root level.
So what about those times when it's not a bad URL, but like a missing resource? Like trying to load a product page for a product that doesn't exist?
TanStack Router has a not found function you can use in your loaders or
Oh,
components.
thanks, TanStack.
It tells the router that a resource wasn't found.
Okay,
And that triggers the same not found component logic we just talked about, so you get a consistent error handling experience.
somebody-
Like a safety net, catching those errors and giving the user a smoother fallback.
Exactly, and to make things even better,
somebody
they have this
needs
catch not found
this.
component,
Sorry.
kind of like React's error boundary. You can
Ah,
use it to catch
you
and
go.
handle errors in a specific part of your component tree.
Nice. Okay. I'm curious to see how they made some of the design decisions behind TanStack Router.
Yeah.
The document decisions on -dx.md seems to give some insight into that. What stands out to you?
What I find really interesting is how dedicated they are to type safety and long-term maintainability. They made choices
We
like
love
not
type
using
safety.
JSX for defining routes, so TypeScript can work its magic effectively.
So they prioritize
Yes,
the power
sir.
and clarity of TypeScript, even if it meant a slightly different way of defining routes.
Exactly, and they admit that it might seem like more work up front, but the payoff in terms of code
There we
quality
go.
and developer experience in the long run is worth it.
Well, it wouldn't be a deep dive without talking about type safety.
It wouldn't be.
The document type
True.
safety.md goes beyond the basics.
It's like a masterclass in using TypeScript for routing. They talk about using the getParentRoot function. So child roots inherit the right types from their parents.
So child roots can access typed search params and context from their parents, and that keeps everything consistent.
Exactly.
Okay.
They even emphasize registering your router with the register interface. This helps TypeScript understand your entire routing structure, which makes type inference more accurate and powerful.
Okay, so let's say I'm building a component that might be used on different routes. How does TanStack Router handle situations where you don't know the exact route at compile time?
They have a clever solution for that. They use the from parameter. It lets you give TypeScript hints about the expected route context, so you still get accurate type inference even with dynamic routing.
It's really impressive how they've taken care of all those tricky cases to keep everything type safe.
It shows how much they care about developer experience. Now, speaking of performance, let's talk about deferred
Why
data
didn't they
loading
rewrite it in
from
Rust then?
deferreddataLoading.md.
Huh?
Deferred data loading sounds interesting. Tell me more about how to make my apps even faster.
Tell me
Let's
more.
say you have a page with multiple sections. Some load quickly, others take a bit longer. Deferred data loading lets you show the fast stuff first, while the rest loads in the background.
So the user sees
His
something
voice
right
changed
away.
a little bit
Yeah.
there.
And then the rest of the page appears as the data is ready. That's a cool way to make it feel faster.
Exactly. TanStack Router makes this easy with the defer function and the await component. They work together smoothly even with React's suspense boundaries. You get this really responsive loading experience.
Now, as a developer, I always love having good
As
tools
a
to debug my
developer.
code. I see a document here called
Oh, aren't
devtools.md.
you fancy?
What can you tell me about TanStack Router's dev tools?
Get ready to be impressed.
Okay,
Their dev
I'm
tools
ready.
are like X-ray vision for your routing system. You can
Yes,
see
I
your
am
whole
going to
route
Peanut
tree, check
Gallery
the
this
state of
entire
each
time.
route, see which routes are
Why
active,
do
and
you
even
ask? Why
simulate
do you
navigation
inquire?
events.
That sounds super helpful, being able to visualize my routes and how data flows through them. That would be really useful for debugging and understanding how it all works.
It changes the game for development. And they've thought about the details too. You can embed the dev tools right in your app, style them with CSS to
It
match
has
your
to be that,
design,
right?
and even customize what information is displayed.
That's so cool. Now, while TanStack Router does a lot on its own, it's good to know it works well with other React tools. External data-loading.md seems to be all about that.
It is. TanStack Router knows that developers often have their favorite data fetching libraries, whether it's TanStack Query as WR, RTK Query, or even Redux. And it integrates seamlessly with all of them.
So it doesn't try to replace those tools, it just works with them.
Exactly. It gives you the hooks and
Ooh, that's
components you need to
nice.
connect your data
That's
fetching
real
library
nice.
into the TanStack Router lifecycle. For example, you could use TanStack Query for caching and background updates, but still use TanStack Router's route loaders to start those fetches at the right time.
Okay, that makes sense. Using the best tool for each job, but making sure they all work together.
It's like a beautiful orchestra of
Beautiful
tools.
orchestra.
And speaking of working together, let's talk about route context from router-context.md. It's a powerful way to share data and functionality between routes.
Root context is that like a global store, but more focused.
You're on the right
Ah,
track.
yes, of course.
Think of it as a way to inject data configuration or functions at a high level in your route tree. So they're available to any child route without passing them down
Why?
as
Because I'm
prompts.
not a web shit.
So if I
man,
need to
'cause I
share
don't know how to
something like
fucking write code.
user authentication
generate it
info
all,
or
it's
theme
fine.
preferences,
Oh.
I could put that in the route context, and any component in that part of the route tree could access it directly.
Exactly. It's a great way to avoid prop drilling and keep your components clean and simple. They even use the analogy of breadcrumbs. Each route adds its own crumb to the
Okay.
trail.
We push it
So
up
it's easy to see the
15,
current context.
Maybe?
I like
12
that
here?
analogy. We've talked about server-side rendering, but static pre-rendering.md brings up static pre-rendering.
This is all about
Okay,
performance.
so
Static pre-rendering lets you create static HTML files for your app when you build it. So instead of rendering pages on the server for every request, you basically pre-make the
is there a
HTML
place I
for
can,
certain
like,
routes.
look?
So for routes that don't change much, like a marketing page or a blog post, I could pre-render them at build time and serve them as static files.
Exactly. That means faster loading for the user and less work for your servers. TanStack Start Using Nitro makes static pre-rendering really easy to set up.
Cool, so we've got dynamic server-side rendering, static pre-rendering. What about just static data for routes? I see a document called staticroutedata.md.
That's a cool way to put data directly into your routes at build time. It's perfect for data that doesn't change often, like SEO metadata for a page or values that are expensive to calculate on the fly.
So it's like attaching a little data package to each route.
Exactly, and you can access this data right from your components. It's there without any network requests. Plus, they've even added type safety for static
I
route
like
data.
kind of.
So everything
Well,
stays
how much money do I
consistent and you
have?
don't get
20?
runtime errors.
Doing pretty good.
Now, we've been praising TanStack Router a lot, but I'm
Oh,
also
really? Wanna
curious how
check
it compares
this?
to other popular
really
routing
good.
solutions. I see a document here called comparison.md.
It's always good to see how different tools measure up. In this document,
Oh,
they
we have
compare
two
TanStack
here?
Router with React Router
That's pretty
DOM
lit,
and
actually.
Next.js's router. They point out the similarities and
Blue
differences.
Zwei.
I'm guessing type safety
Maybe.
is one area where
Maybe.
TAN-stack
Maybe
router really
two.
stands
There we go.
out.
Absolutely, it's a key difference. They also look
25
at
or higher.
nested routing data fetching capabilities
I need to
and
look at what the
advanced features,
gear score
like search param
um,
management and route masking.
brackets
They
are.
show how
They keep
TAN-stack
changing
router
them.
compares in each area.
So even though it's relatively new, it sounds like it can compete with the big names and has some unique advantages.
It's a really exciting time to be exploring routing in React, and TAN-stack router is definitely pushing the boundaries. Okay, so we've covered a ton of stuff, but there are still a few more
It's
cool
very
things in these
exciting to be
docs.
exploring.
Let's talk about
Routing in
navigation
React,
blocking.
dude.
It's super important for
fucking
making
riveted.
user-friendly apps.
Navigation blocking, huh? What's that and why should I care?
What
Think
is it?
about those
Tell me.
times when a user might accidentally lose their work. Like if they're filling out a long form or doing something important. Navigation blocking stops them from accidentally leaving the page and losing everything.
Oh, so like if they hit the back button or try to close the tab,
Yeah.
TAN-stack router can be like, hold on, are you sure about that?
Exactly. The navigationblocking.md document explains how TAN-stack router handles this. You can use the use blocker hook to have really fine-grained control. You can write custom logic to check for unsafe changes.
So I could check if a form has been changed. And if it has, prevent the user from leaving until they confirm they're okay with losing their changes.
You got it. You can even show them a confirmation dialog, giving them a chance to save or cancel. And if you prefer a more declarative way, there's the block component. You just wrap your component with it, and it handles the blocking based on the props you give it.
It's like a safety net, so users don't get frustrated when they accidentally lose their work. I see this doc also mentions using the browser's on before unload event.
Yeah, that means even if they try to close the whole window or refresh the page, TAN-stack router can still step in. It can show that standard confirmation dialog asking if they really want to use or maybe lose their data.
Okay, that's a nice touch. It's all about making things more user-friendly. So let's talk about how you actually move between routes. Navigation.md seems to cover all the different ways to navigate in TAN-stack router app.
TAN-stack router gives you a bunch of options for navigation, both declarative and imperative. For those classic clickable links, there's the link component.
So it's like using a tag in HTML, but made for TAN-stack router.
Exactly, and the link component is super flexible. You can give it path params, search params, even a hash to link to a certain spot on the page. It even
There's
handles
a
active state
guide
styling,
out
so
here.
you can visually highlight the active link.
What about when I need to trigger navigation from code, like when a button's clicked or something like that?
That's where you use navigate hook. It gives you a navigate function you can call anywhere, even with the same options as the link component, so it's super flexible.
So I could have a button that, when clicked, takes the user to a specific route based on some logic in my component.
Exactly, and for those rare times when you need a client-side redirect, they even have a navigate component. It starts navigation as soon as it renders.
Now we talked a lot about search params. I'm curious about those advanced customization options mentioned in custom search param-serialization.md. When would I need to go beyond the
He's very
default
curious.
Mm-hmm.
JSON serialization?
That's for those
Curious
times
boy.
when you might need to work with an older system that expects
Wow.
search params in a certain format,
Not
or maybe you
expecting to
have some
one-shot that,
specific
but-
performance needs. It's not something you'll use all the time, but it's good to know you have that flexibility.
So like if I needed to use a different encoding or a library for parsing search params, TAN-stack router lets me do that.
Exactly. You have total control over how search params are serialized and deserialized. You use the parse search and
Wait,
stringify
what?
search options in the router config.
Don't mind if I
Okay, cool. Now, one thing that's often overlooked is scroll restoration. It's about making sure that when a user goes back to a previous page, they end up in the same spot they were before, scrolled to the same position. Does TAN-stack router handle this?
It does, and it does it really well. They put a lot of thought into this. Scroll-restoration.md explains how they do it. The scroll restoration component is like magic. Just add it to your app, and it handles everything automatically.
Wow, so no more messing around with manual scroll management.
It remembers scroll positions for all the scrollable elements, even nested ones, and it restores them smoothly. They even have a use to scroll restoration hook if you need more control.
Right? It seems like they really thought of everything to make routing really user-friendly.
They have, and it shows in every detail. Before we wrap up, there's one more document, parallel-routes.md. It hints at some pretty advanced routing techniques.
Sounds like a topic for another deep dive sometime. But I think we've explored pretty much everything about TAN-stack router.
We went from the basics of routing to advanced stuff like preloading navigation blocking, custom search param handling, and even scroll restoration.
It's been a really interesting journey, and I feel like I have a much better understanding of how powerful and flexible tan-stack router
That
is.
makes one
It's
of
definitely
us.
built for the modern web. They clearly focused on performance type safety and a great developer experience.
So for our listener who's been with us on this deep dive, I encourage you to go explore. Build something awesome with tan-stack router and let us know what you create.
Happy coding.
Windless turn. Wait. Hold on. I want this. I think. Don't I? No, I don't. Okay. Well. Yeah, I don't think there's much I can use, unfortunately. Because I am relegated to Next.js once again. Stitched. Interesting. Okay. Anybody out there? I don't hear him. Shit. Dark leaf? I don't think I really care about that. I mean, I'll look at it, I guess. Ooh, I didn't realize I could wear those. 3 strength. Come here, Mr. Bat. Now I think I go around here. Yeah, no, it's not worth it. Oh my god. I think I hear something. I feel like I do. Keeping those drums because they're useful to throw at people. When I run out of axes, inevitably. Ooh. Almost missed the magic bot here. Don't mind if I do. Whew. Okay, well that completes a quest. If I remember right, so let's just snack this. And that. Nothing juicy. What do we got? Yep, that'll sell, I think. Pretty sure. Leather. Reinforced is a maybe. Let's check it real quick. Nah. I will take some loose trousers though, I believe. Let's take a little look around, see if we missed anything particularly interesting. I don't think I need a lantern for anything. Just double check. Physical damage. Pretty sure I heard somebody. Alright, fine. Come on, Taco, you can do it. I believe in you. Little homie's lost. Poor guy. $14? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay, well, I think one of those will sell. I don't think that will, but whatever, it's fine. That might come in handy. I might dump the shield for it. I think I will, actually. I'll just drop that. Throw that there. And then I have a couple of, it finishes a couple of things, doesn't it? Oh my god. I'm cringing, bro. What? Guess that other kid I killed didn't count as a player. I think that one is for a quest, if I remember right. Can't complain too much. Quest log. I don't really want to give him, but I do want to finish it. $15, baby. Let's see. Is it Iron Will? It usually is. Yeah, like you can't not run Iron Will. That's just silly. I'll sell these because they're trash. Oh, and now we need to treasurer. So I did a bunch. I made a bunch for tan stack, but like, unless it's wildly better to the point where having a robot do the entire thing for me isn't worth it anymore. I don't think I'm gonna use it. But I might, I don't know. We'll see. So this and this are decent. Thing is, I can't go to trade and like actually buy decent items right now, I think. Because because I don't have... You need level 20, don't you? Yeah. So I have to like self-find everything. And I'm not very good at this game in the first place, so... I would prefer to have a gear advantage when possible. And I'm not a barbarian player either, really. I'm just going with the flow, man. Okay. Squire, equip. Cool. Okay, well we got that 20, which was the plan. So the question is, do I switch over to papers? Because I do want to passively acquire information about something that will be relevant for me to do in the near future. And I think I have to be a little web shitter before I can go back to like doing fun model stuff for a little bit in an effort to pay rent. So I mean, I made like 4 of them, so realistically I ought to... Actually, let me check and see what I have on Illuminate here. 5 minutes? Why is this 5 minutes long? Illuminate sucks, dude. It's a medium duration. Okay, so that's probably why. Let me check my Zotero and see what else. Why are all of these? All of those are bookmarks and none of them are papers. Although I feel like it would be fun to listen to thermodynamic linear algebra, because then we could do a normal computing session where I just notebooklm the shit out of everything thermodynamic, even though I will never ever use it at all. Just sounds funny. Okay, tailored for a intermediate audience with a long duration. That one should be informative. Let's do that. And this will be studying with teacher for knowledge distillation of large language models. Okay, so LLMs is pretty based. Let's generate that. You get 20 a day? That's actually kind of lit. I need to set something up where it just takes everything that I saved that day and it auto dumps it into Illuminate for me so that I can pretend that I learned anything about it. Seven minutes is long, huh, Illuminate? That's not very long. It's actually kind of shit. Yeah, originally I was like looking at TanStack because I was like, well, I could, like, I hate Next.js, I hate the app router, so let's use TanStack instead. But apparently, if I use TanStack router and not TanStack start, TanStack router is for client side only, and half the reason to use app router is so you can use SSR. And I want to use SSR because I want to play with the fun little generative UI thing. And you need to render that on server side. But I can't. A, because I need to go kneel to Next.js Sama before I do. And then also Bolt won't be able to handle that. I was trying to get Bolt to do something in Vue which worked, but then particle. Actually, I should check that. Let me see if my Discord's open right now. Who's saying words to me in 16? Let's see. Boredom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe Shaw's gonna fix boredom. We'll see. I need to check in Code Club and see what's going on with Particle. Except they definitely didn't respond at all, which is pretty cool. Definitely didn't want to use your product anyway, buddy. Kind of did, actually. Kind of think Particle Connect is kind of cool, but low key. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them I said that. Okay. Well, we made the tan stack stuff. So let's listen to some more tan stack, and let's switch over to some deadlock, because I am playing Dark and Darker with actual gear. Gives me anxiety, so I never do it. But that's like kind of half the fun of Dark and Darker, is when you actually get geared up and you stop having the fear. Let me see. Okay, that's actually showing you my screen here. Whoops. Boop. Yep. What is displaying still? Boop. There you go. I gotta get my free Epic stuff if I wanna log into my Windows partition, right? I just revealed that I am using Windows again, like a fucking plebeian. Rip me. Rip my nerd cred. But if Epic's gonna give me free games, I'm gonna take them, even though I'm never gonna play any of them. I think I played like all of one game in my Epic account. Maybe two. There was one that sounded cool. It was like this frickin' cyberpunk detective kind of thing. Gave me some like Shadowrun vibes. But it sucked actually. It was a terrible game. I was disappointed. I forget even what it was called. I would recommend it, but I don't because it sucked. Okay. Deadlock. Ooh, somebody's playing. Two people are playing, and they're Yamato mains because of course they are. Okay. We can get rid of this thing, and we can go display capture, and then we can go grab some water, probably. Okay, BRB. let the record show that I bought these dino nuggies because they were on sale and for no other reasons, and not because I wanted to eat dino nuggies. Okay? Just saying, just thought I would mention. I know the people have been wondering, so. Okay, so we have 10-stack router API reference. notebooklm. I think we will do that next. Oh shit, I can actually play ranked. You know me, I don't play anything with stakes. Maybe I'll warm up a little bit though. I'm gonna take a crack at it.
New York seems like a lovely place.
Damn, that's pretty laggy. I haven't played either of these guys in a hot minute. Alright, let's do it.
All right, ready to dive in?
Ready.
Today, we're looking at 10-stack router.
Oh, nice.
You sent over a bunch of documentation.
Yes.
Looks like you're really digging into this JavaScript library.
Awesome.
And
Believe
we're
me,
gonna
I
help you
prefer I
sift
wasn't.
through all the details so you can really
Yeah.
get those golden nuggets of knowledge.
Love
Oh
it.
my god.
You want the key info,
She
right?
sounded like a weird,
Quickly.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And the why
siren
behind
monster.
it all, I bet.
absolutely.
Maybe even a few surprises along the way. Who knows?
Always up for that.
So it seems
Oh my
like we've
God.
got descriptions
She's like
of
drunk,
types
dude.
and classes.
What is going on?
Functions, components, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, looks like it.
Luckily,
Bruh.
our expert here is a master
What
at connecting all
happened?
those dots,
Thanks. I tried.
revealing the bigger picture. You know.
Oh my
Happy to
god.
help.
So let's jump right in.
All right.
This file or root class really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that caution symbol. It says it's deprecated,
Mhm.
which means it's going away in the next version.
Right.
It does, yep.
Why would they just get rid of something like that?
Because
Seems kinda
it's
drastic.
fucking
Well,
garbage.
it's not as sudden as it sounds.
Oh, okay.
Deprecation is more like a heads up,
Okay.
letting developers know it's being phased out.
Like a warning.
Exactly, a gentle nudge towards better solutions.
So they're not just going to pull the rug out from under everyone.
Okay, whatever.
Not
it's
at
fine.
all. Gives everyone time to adapt,
I see.
migrate their code to the newer approach.
Makes sense?
Looks like they're recommending the create file root function.
Oh.
This is all about file-based routing. Basically means your routes are generated based on how your files are organized.
So that function is the way to go now.
Yeah, that's their preferred approach moving forward.
Gotcha. Keeps things streamlined up to date.
Exactly.
Now, something else that's piquing my interest. All these components.
Lots to explore there.
Await, catch boundary, link, outlet.
Yeah,
It's a lot to take in, honestly. Are these like the building blocks for the UI?
you're right on the money. Think of them like Lego bricks.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Each one has a specific purpose,
Mhm.
and they can be combined, assembled into something amazing.
So, like link components. I'm guessing those are for the clickable links.
Yep, exactly. They take users to different parts of the app.
And
Those act as placeholders
delete holders
Fuck,
for.
did I miss
for where
two
those
there?
link views actually show up.
Oh, I see.
So you combine these components,
Yeah.
and you can create a whole interactive web app.
Not just static pages, right?
Right, we're talking complex navigation flows, user interactions, the whole shebang.
Each component playing its part.
Exactly, shaping the whole user experience.
Okay, starting to see how it all comes together now.
Cool.
But there are a couple of these components that sound particularly interesting,
Oh yeah, which one?
like error component and default global not found.
Ah, those are important ones.
They're
Can you shed
important.
some light on those?
Very
What makes
important.
them so crucial?
Think of them
Yeah,
as your
please.
safety nets,
Okay.
making sure things don't totally crash and burn if something goes wrong.
So if there's like a general error,
Yep, the error component steps in.
instead of just seeing a terrifying error message.
Right, you can display something user-friendly instead.
Right, because nobody wants to see a blank screen or a wall of code.
Exactly, keep the experience smooth.
And then we have default global not found.
Ah, yes, that one swoops in when someone hits a route that doesn't exist.
So instead of a dead end,
You can present a nice custom 404 page.
maybe with a search bar or links back to the main sections.
Exactly, guide them back to where they need to be,
So it's all about graceful error handling,
for sure.
clear user feedback,
Yeah.
even when things go a bit sideways.
Absolutely.
Starting to see the bigger picture here.
Mm.
But there's one thing I'm still not quite getting.
Hooks. Oh, yeah, those can be tricky at first.
There are so many of them. Use param,
There's so many.
use search, use location.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
What's the deal with hooks? What are they all about?
Hooks are pretty game-changing in React.
I hear that a lot, but I'm still not sure I fully get it.
And 10-stack router seems to use them to their full potential.
Okay.
They let you tap into React's functionality without writing those traditional class components.
Which can be pretty clunky, right?
Exactly. Hooks are like shortcuts.
Shortcuts are always welcome.
to essential information and actions.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure, let's take use prims.
Huh?
Say you have a route for a blog post.
Mm-hmm.
The URL might be something like blog post 123.
Right, where 123 is the unique ID for that post.
Exactly. Use prims grabs that ID from the
They will
URL.
learn to
So the
feel
component
power of
knows
the
which
king.
post to load.
Yep, that's how it works.
Makes sense.
Then you've got usearch.
Which does what?
It pulls information from the query parameters in the URL.
Like filter settings or search terms.
Precisely.
Right.
That's how developers can tailor the content.
Based on what the user's looking for.
You got it.
So out of all these hooks, which one would you say is particularly useful for routing?
That's a good question. Let's talk about use navigate.
Okay.
This one lets developers change the app's location programmatically,
Programmatically, meaning,
based on user interactions or events.
oh, interesting.
So say a user submits a form. You can use navigate to redirect them to a confirmation page.
So it's not just static links anymore.
Right. The app can react dynamically to what's happening.
Very cool. Now, one last thing before we move on. Types.
Ah, yes, those are important too.
We see them mentioned all over the documentation. Active link options type, async root component type. It's a bit overwhelming, honestly. Does a developer who's focused on the big picture even need to worry about these?
That's an excellent question. Types might seem like a behind-the-scenes detail,
Yeah.
but they're actually crucial for building reliable applications.
Okay.
Think of them as a safety net for developers.
Always a good thing.
They help catch errors early on in the development process.
Before they can cause problems for users, right?
Exactly. Imagine trying to pass data of the wrong type to a function.
Like fitting a square peg in a
Imagine.
round hole.
Exactly.
Couldn't be me.
Types will flag that as an error right away.
So it prevents unexpected behavior later on.
Exact.
It's like a spell checker for your code, making sure everything's in order.
That's a great way to put it.
So even though users might not directly see the effects of these types,
Right.
they benefit from a more stable and predictable app.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered quite a bit already.
Yeah.
We've learned about deprecation and how software evolves, how components are like building blocks for user interfaces,
Yeah.
the importance of graceful error handling,
Can't forget that.
and of course the power of hooks for accessing information and action.
And those unsung heroes types, working behind the scenes to ensure everything runs smoothly.
It's amazing how much goes into creating a seamless user experience. But it makes me wonder,
What's that?
is it just about the technical setup? We've seen how TanStack Router provides the structure for navigation, but what else goes into building a truly user-friendly routing system? Is there more to it than just the technical side?
Yeah, that's a great
I
question.
will not!
You can have the most technically perfect routing system in the world,
Right.
but if it doesn't align with how users expect to navigate.
Gotta fall flat.
Exactly.
So where do those usability considerations come in?
Yeah.
What are some things developers should keep in mind?
We'll have to dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
She
Stay
didn't say
tuned.
delve.
All right, so we were talking about
Not a
how a
model,
technically
confirmed.
perfect routing system isn't enough.
Yeah, you need to make it user-friendly too.
Shit.
It needs to be intuitive, predictable.
Absolutely.
So it's not just connecting pages.
Right.
It's about designing a journey for the user.
Exactly, a smooth journey.
So what are some of the key principles to keep in mind?
Well, consistency is key for sure.
Consistency, okay.
Users need to be able to anticipate how the navigation's going to work throughout the whole application.
Makes sense.
So, like, if clicking the logo takes you to the home page,
Yeah.
it should do that everywhere, not just on certain pages.
Right. Predictability builds trust.
Exactly. Familiarity. You don't want users feeling lost or confused.
Coming green.
Definitely not.
Then there's clarity.
Okay. Clarity of what?
Your navigation menus, the links, they should use clear language.
So anyone can understand.
Exactly. Avoid jargon, technical terms that might confuse people.
It's about helping people get to the content they want,
Quickly and easily.
not deciphering a secret code.
Exactly. And we can't forget visual hierarchy.
Okay, visual hierarchy, what's that?
It means important navigation elements should stand out.
Visually, right?
Yep. Think font sizes, colors, placement on the page.
So users can quickly scan and find what they're looking for.
It's not just what you link to,
Right.
but how you present it.
To guide the user, yeah.
Exactly. Then there's feedback.
Okay. Feedback.
Users should always know where they are in the application.
I've definitely been on websites where I've been totally lost.
Yeah, it happens.
No idea how I got to a page or how to get back.
It's more common than you'd think. Clear feedback is crucial.
For sure.
Things like clear
Idiot.
page titles, breadcrumbs, highlighting the active link in the menu.
Yeah, all those little cues.
Exactly, they make a big difference.
And then there's error prevention, right?
Oh, absolutely. A well-designed routing system anticipates errors.
Like confirmation dialogues before deleting something.
Exactly. Or input validation on forms to prevent typos.
Much better to prevent errors than try to recover from them.
Couldn't agree more.
And of course, we can't forget about accessibility.
Ain't absolutely essential.
Oh my god, how does she have 5K
Everyone
now?
can use
What
the
the
site,
fuck?
regardless of ability.
Yep, that means keyboard navigation, alternative text for images,
Right.
sufficient color contrast.
All those important things.
So yeah, building a truly user-friendly routing system.
It's a blend of technical skill and design thinking.
For sure. You need both.
It's not just connecting pages, it's about crafting an experience.
An intuitive journey for every user.
Now let's look back at the documentation.
All right.
I'm noticing all these different types associated with the component. Active link options type, ACV component type, deferred promise type.
Yeah, there are quite a few.
Does a developer really need to understand all of these to use TanStack Router effectively?
Well, that's the beauty of TypeScript.
Okay.
It adds a layer of safety and guidance.
Especially for large applications, I imagine.
Exactly. You don't need to be a TypeScript expert to get started.
But it helps.
It really does. Understanding the basics can make things much smoother.
So types are like road signs for developers, keeping them on track.
That's a great way to think about it.
Now
It
what about
is.
this match route options type?
Oh yeah, that one's interesting.
What's that all about?
It gives you fine-grained control over how routes are matched to the URL.
Okay.
You can specify things like case sensitivity, how search parameters are handled, even fuzzy matching.
Fuzzy matching, like if I misspell something in the URL.
Yeah, it can still figure out what you meant.
That's pretty cool.
It's all about making the routing more
I will yield.
forgiving.
More human-friendly, you could say.
Exactly. And then there are redirects, the redirect type.
All right, those behind-the-scenes jumps from one URL to another.
Yep, there are tons of uses for those.
Like, when would you need to use them?
Well, maybe you renamed a page and you want old links to still work.
Makes sense.
Or you need to redirect based on login status.
Oh, right, so different users see different things.
Exactly. Or maybe you're A/B testing. Redirects let you guide users seamlessly.
Without them even realizing
Fuck
it.
is
It's
that?
all about those smooth transitions.
Yeah, keeping things flowing
It's fascinating how these little details add up.
to a more polished experience.
For sure, it's all about the details.
And speaking of ensuring things run smoothly, we can't forget about testing.
Oh, absolutely. Testing is crucial.
Making sure everything actually works as intended.
You need to verify those links, go to the right pages. Redirects happen when they should. Error handling is in place.
Why does she
So a
have
good
fucking
testing
5K?
strategy benefits everyone.
Developers
Jeez.
and users alike.
On
Are there
top of
specific
her
tools for
everything.
testing TanStack Router?
Yeah, there are some great libraries for testing React apps.
Right.
React Testing Library,
Okay.
they let you simulate user interactions.
So you can see how the routing behaves.
Exactly. You can check which components render, make sure redirects work.
It's like putting the routing system through its paces.
Exactly. Make sure it can handle anything you throw at it.
So we've covered the usability side of things, delved into some types,
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
touched upon testing. What else is there to know about building great routing with TanStack Router?
Well, one thing that sets it apart is its focus on performance.
Okay, performance meaning.
It's designed to be lightweight, efficient.
So the app loads quickly.
Exactly, even on slower connections.
Important for web apps.
Absolutely, every millisecond counts.
Yeah, and scalability, right?
Oh yeah, TanStack Router can handle complex
like,
applications.
It can grow with your
Okay,
needs.
strongly prefer
Exactly,
death
whether
and
it's a small
stuff.
site or a huge platform.
What makes it so scalable?
Well, it's built on modern JavaScript principles and leverages React's component-based architecture.
So you can break your app into
Okay.
smaller, reusable pieces.
Exactly, easier to
I'm a
manage
man
and
of
maintain.
Like those Lego bricks again.
Exactly. And its API is flexible, extensible.
You can customize it to your needs.
That's the idea, make it work for you,
Flexibility is always good.
for sure.
So performance, scalability, flexibility.
It's got it all.
Sounds like TanStack Router has a lot to offer.
It does.
Now, what about those times when you need to access the router's internal state?
Oh yeah, there are ways to do that.
Is that possible?
Absolutely. TanStack Router has a powerful API
What?
through the router class and the use router hook.
What can you do with that?
You can check the routing state, listen for changes, even programmatically navigate to different parts of the app.
So you have a lot of control.
It's like having a direct line to the routing system's control panel.
Nice. So developers can define the structure, but also interact with it dynamically.
At runtime, yep.
When would you want to do that?
Well, one common use case is authentication.
Okay,
You might want to redirect unauthenticated users to a login page.
right. Or restrict access based on permissions.
Exactly. So the routing adapts to the user's
I'll buy it
context.
sometime.
Makes sense.
That was not
What about
meant to do,
specific
but sure.
properties or methods of the router class? What's particularly useful?
Well, the state property is great.
What does that do?
It gives you a snapshot of the router's internal state. The current location, active route, pending navigation.
Even error information?
Yep, it's all in there.
So you can really see what's going on under the hood.
Exactly. You can see how everything's working.
What about actions, making things happen?
Well, the navigate method is your go-to for
Navigate?
changing the
I don't
location.
think that's how that's
Programmatically, right.
pronounced.
Yep, you can pass it a path, a relative path, even an object.
Lots of options.
It's a really powerful tool for creating dynamic experiences.
Like having a personal chauffeur for your users.
Yeah, taking them exactly where they need to go.
And there are other methods too, right?
Oh yeah, like invalidate for reloading route data.
Fucking
What's that
piece of
When
shit.
you need to force a refresh. And preload for prefetching data for routes users might visit.
Interesting. So it's all about optimization.
Oh my god.
Making things smooth and seamless.
It's amazing how much goes into a good routing system.
It's a lot more than people think.
So we've gone from high-level design to specific
It's
types.
time.
Even peeked into the router class.
It's been quite a journey.
I'm really impressed with TANstack Router, I gotta say.
It's a powerful library, that's for sure.
Okay, I think we've laid a solid foundation here.
Definitely.
But before we wrap things up, there's one more question I want to explore. We've covered a lot about handling errors, like when a route's missing or data fetching goes wrong.
Yeah.
But what about those times when you actually want to stop a user from leaving a page?
Ah, interesting scenario.
Like
my
imagine they're
fucking
filling
God.
out a massive form
Yeah.
and they accidentally close the tab.
Oh, data loss, the worst.
Total disaster. Does TANstack Router have anything for that?
Of course. They've got you covered.
Okay, what is it?
Navigation blocking.
Okay.
There's a hook for it.
Really?
Blockers.
And that lets you.
This 1v1's
Intercept.
me? Okay.
Those navigation attempts.
I guess she's 2 KO.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
fine.
And if certain conditions are met, you can completely stop them.
So, like, if there are unsaved changes in a form,
Exactly. That's a perfect use case.
it's like a safety net.
Yep, preventing those oh no moments.
Much better than losing all your work.
For sure. Especially important for applications where data integrity is key.
Absolutely. Can't mess with that.
It all goes back to that user-centered design, thinking about those edge cases.
Right. Making the experience smooth, even when things go wrong.
Now, speaking of smooth experiences,
Yeah.
there's another feature that can make your app feel super snappy.
Any more?
Route preloading.
Okay, route preloading. That sounds interesting.
It's basically prefetching data for a page before the user clicks the link.
So it's already there, ready to go.
It's like having a mind-reading assistant.
That anticipates your next move.
Exactly. And TANstack Router offers a few ways to do it.
Different strategies.
Yeah, you can preload on hover, on scroll into view, even right when a component mounts.
So it's super customizable.
That's just the idea.
So by the time you click that link, the page loads instantly.
Feels like magic, right?
It really does. No more staring at loading spinners.
It's all about those seamless transitions, that instant gratification.
Well, I'm impressed. TANstack Router really seems to have it all.
They've done a great job, that's for sure.
I think it's safe to say our deep dive into TANstack Router has been a success.
We've uncovered a lot, that's for sure.
From the basics of routing to advanced techniques for optimization.
Learned about deprecated features, cutting edge tools.
Really seeing how TANstack Router can help you build amazing things.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, there's always more to learn.
The official documentation is a great resource,
And there's a whole community out there.
ready to help you on your TANstack journey.
So as you continue exploring,
We leave you with this.
one final thought.
How can you use routing to go beyond just connecting pages?
How can you create truly captivating experiences for your users?
Think about it.
Let your imagination run wild.
And happy routing.
Until next time.
to York.
Our walker is This is the beginning of something beautiful.
Don't let him escape!
They will curse your name, Vidya.
I think we mid here.
I'm gonna get yellow.
Taste the wrath of the Jinn! Only a fool opposes the Jinn.
Alright, way too slow.
Good work, Wraith.
I got more where that came from.
Our purple walker is under attack. The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed. Our yellow attack. Our yellow walker has been defeated.
Ah, fuck. I really don't think that's. Oh yeah, okay, I do have monster rounds. Okay, she's got bullets. Okay, could be worse. Let's do bullet armor. Fuck.
Someone's using their noodle.
This should slow them down.
Your patron gives freely. Our blue walker is under attack.
What? Did my return fire just not work? I'm very confused.
Our blue walker has been defeated.
Very, very confused. So I'm presuming if I have return fire, Unfortunate. I think they changed the noises to be spookier too, didn't they? Seems like it.
The urn has been dropped.
Where did homie go? Fucking lost him.
Spirit urn is waiting to be claimed. Our purple walker has been destroyed.
Fucking out of here. I like kinetic dash, kind of. What does this do? High velocity mag. Pristine emblem. Okay, sure. Yeah, he's gonna get it. No shot.
The urn has been delivered.
Perfect spot. Hello. This should disorient them. They won't forget the day they crossed it.
The rejuvenator has expired.
Okay. Going Shiv.
The elements obey.
Yowza. Okay. Crippling, I think that's the move. And then, oh yeah, there's a bunch of healing people, aren't there? There's a few. I think we can do toxic here. Let's do another podcast.
All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into TAN stack query.
Cool.
You sent over some documentation,
Yep.
and we're going to figure out how this data fetching and state management library can really kind of supercharge our web apps.
Yeah. The exciting thing about TanStack Query, I think, is that it's not just about fetching data, right?
Right.
It's about managing that whole life cycle of server state. So think fetching, caching, syncing, updating. It all kind of becomes this like smooth, integrated part of your application.
So it tackles those classic server state headaches head on.
Totally.
Like the docs mentioned things like data getting stale, inefficient caching that leads to tons of requests, and just that struggle to make apps feel fast and responsive.
Absolutely. TanStack Query aims to like solve all those issues.
Okay.
And its popularity speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's used in a lot of projects, which is a good sign that it's doing something, right?
Yeah.
One quick side note, you might still see it called React Query, but the official name is TanStack Query now.
Got it. Name change noted.
Yeah.
So the docs jump into these like core concepts. Queries, mutations, and query invalidation. Let's start with queries.
Okay.
I'm guessing this is how we fetch data.
Exactly. So you can think of queries as instructions for getting your asynchronous data.
Okay.
And what's really neat is that TanStack Query uses this unique key system to identify each piece of data.
Okay.
So it's like each query has its own fingerprint, so the library knows exactly what you're asking for.
Makes sense. And then there's all this talk about query states,
Right.
idle, spending, eyes error,
Yeah.
to success. But then there's also these fetch states.
Yeah.
Idle, fetching, and paused. What's the difference?
So you've hit on a really subtle but important point.
Okay.
So the query state tells you the status of the data itself.
Okay.
So like, do we have the data? Is it loading? Did something go wrong?
Right.
But fetch state is all about the actual fetching process. So like, are we actively fetching? Is it sitting idle or has it been paused for some reason?
Okay. So it's like two levels of status.
Right.
Could you give me an example?
Sure, so imagine your app is waiting for data. So the query state is pending.
Really?
Okay.
But let's say your internet connection drops.
Okay.
The
Damn,
fetch
60
state would then
seconds, dude.
switch to
That was a
pause.
fucking rough
Because
game. man.
even though
I
we're
don't think I
waiting for
killed
data,
anybody.
the actual fetching process is on hold.
Now I see the distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, so queries handle fetching. What about those mutations?
Okay.
They seem to be about
What about
changing
them?
data.
Tell
Spot
us.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
Mutations are your tools for creating, updating, or deleting data on the server.
Okay.
And they have their own states too. ICE idle, ICE spending, ICE error, and is success, just like queries.
And the docs mentioned something about resetting mutation states.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So resetting mutation states is really useful for kind of cleaning up after a mutation is completed.
Okay.
So let's say you had an error during a mutation. Resetting the state clears that error so that the next mutation starts fresh.
Gotcha.
It also helps manage any side effects, like optimistic updates.
Optimistic updates. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, so imagine you're updating a user's profile.
Okay.
With optimistic updates, you make the change instantly on the screen,
Sure.
even before the server confirms it.
Right.
Another
So it
question
makes the
is, do I
app
get
feel
to keep
really
my own
snappy,
security?
Yeah.
as if the change happened instantly.
Clever.
Yeah,
So the user doesn't have to wait for that round trip to the server.
exactly.
What about this query invalidation thing?
Right.
Is that how CanStack Query
Oh,
keeps
siphon
data
boards
fresh?
gives bullet
Precisely.
resets.
So
That's
TanStack
interesting.
Query will automatically invalidate queries,
Okay.
meaning it marks the data as potentially stale
Yeah.
based on certain triggers.
Yeah.
So this could be something like the window regaining focus, or the network reconnecting, or even just a timer expiring.
So if I switch back to a tab that was showing, say, sales data, CanStack Query realizes that might be outdated
Yep.
and fetches a fresh copy.
Exactly, and it'll even retry automatically if the fetch fails.
Okay.
And plus, you can even fine-tune like how many times it retries and how long it waits between attempts. So it gives you a lot of control over how your app handles that potentially stale data.
This is starting to paint a picture of how TanStack Query really simplifies working with server data.
Absolutely, and we haven't even touched on like the bonus features yet.
Oh, okay.
Like things like
Bonus
caching,
features.
prefetching, server-side rendering,
Okay.
and dedicated developer tools. These kind of take TanStack Query to the next level.
Okay, let's unpack those.
Okay.
Caching seems like a big deal. I'm guessing TanStack Query tries to make caching as efficient as possible
Oh yeah,
to avoid those unnecessary network requests.
got it.
Okay.
So it has this clever system using stale time and cheat time to control how long data is considered fresh and when it gets garbage collected.
So stale time is how long we trust the cache data before we check for updates.
Yep.
And cheat time is like the cleanup crew for old data.
perfect analogy.
Okay.
And then there's prefetching, which can significantly boost performance, especially when combined with routing.
So prefetching sounds like it's anticipating what data the user might need next and loading it in the background.
Exactly.
So if I click a link, the data's already there when the page loads.
Imagine you're browsing an online store,
Okay,
and as you hover over product link,
right.
Tanstack Query could prefetch those product details in the background.
Gotcha.
So by the time you click, the data's ready, and it's a lightning fast experience.
That's slick.
Yeah.
Okay, now for server-side rendering. What's the advantage there?
So server-side rendering, or SSR, is all about optimizing those initial page loads.
Okay.
Think about loading a news website.
Okay.
Instead of staring at a blank screen while the content loads,
Right.
SSR lets the server send a pre-rendered page with the content already in place.
So the server does that initial heavy lifting of fetching the data.
Yep.
And when the page loads, the JavaScript can just kind of take over.
That's the gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the documentation mentions this process of dehydrating and hydrating the query cache,
Okay.
which is how the data gets transferred from the server to the client.
Okay.
It's all about making that experience smooth as possible.
Ow, that was stupid.
I'm starting
an
to see the
idiot.
bigger picture here.
Yeah.
Tanstack Query is about making that data management seamless and efficient
Precisely.
at every stage.
I'm not afraid
And
to
there's more.
die.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you?
It integrates with
Yes.
React Suspense for handling
dying a
those
lot.
loading
It's not good.
states.
Okay.
It offers dedicated dev tools for monitoring queries and mutations,
Okay.
and it provides a ton of flexibility in terms of configuration.
Don't we
All
get
right,
to
let's
return
break
that
this
for
down a
free?
bit.
And
In
Is it down?
suspense,
Well,
we
we're
can
not
create
as
those
down anymore.
smooth loading experiences
Yeah.
while we're waiting for data.
Right.
And the dev tools give us a way to peek under the hood
Yeah.
and see what's happening with our queries and mutations.
Exactly.
What about configuration flexibility?
So Tanstack Query lets you set
Really?
default
Are they-
options for
Okay.
things like retry behavior, cache times, and so on.
Right.
And you do this globally using the query client.
Okay.
So you don't have to repeat those options over and over again.
Gotcha.
You also have fine-grained control over query and mutation keys, filtering, and more.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the docs mentioned TypeScript support, right?
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of type safety.
Yeah.
So that's a huge plus.
It
That's
is,
the
yeah.
theme.
TypeScript support means you can catch those potential errors early on, and it makes your code easier to understand and maintain.
Yeah.
And if you're
Like
worried
Rust,
about
but
testing,
worse.
don't be
Okay.
tools like React Hook's testing library and Knock for mocking network requests.
Okay.
Make it surprisingly straightforward.
We've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from the basics of queries and mutation
Yep.
to more advanced stuff like prefetching and server-side rendering. It's clear that Tanstack Query is a really powerful and flexible tool.
Yeah.
But to connect this to the bigger picture,
What's truly impressive is how Tanstack Query handles all this complexity while remaining relatively simple to use.
Right.
It abstracts away a lot of the boilerplate and headaches that come with data fetching
yeah,
and lets you focus on building awesome user experiences.
I think I'm getting a sense of why it's so popular.
Yeah.
But the docs also mention GraphQL.
Right.
How does Tanstack Query fit into that world?
That's a great question. So Tanstack Query's fetching mechanism is built on promises,
Okay.
which makes it incredibly versatile.
Okay.
It can work with any asynchronous data fetching client, including GraphQL clients like GraphQL requests.
So it doesn't have built-in GraphQL features
Right.
like normalized caching,
Right.
but can work alongside dedicated GraphQL tools.
Exactly. And if you're all about type safety and code generation, there's a cool combo. Tanstack Query, GraphQL Request, and GraphQL Code Generator.
Okay.
You get the best of both worlds.
Ah, so you can have your type GraphQL operations within your Tanstack Query setup.
Precisely.
Speaking of combining the best of things,
Yeah.
the documentation also dives into hydration.
Right.
This idea of transferring prefetched data from the server to the client, which is essential for server-side rendering.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about server-side rendering earlier.
Yeah.
Hydration is about making sure that client-side JavaScript picks up where the server left off
Right.
and avoids prefetching data that was already rendered.
Exactly. And it uses these functions, dehydrate and hydrate,
Okay.
to handle serializing and deserializing the query cache.
Okay.
So think of it like taking a snapshot of the server-side query state
Okay.
and loading it onto the client.
This sounds like it has a huge impact on performance,
It does.
especially for initial page loads. Users see the content instantly,
But yeah.
and then the JavaScript can just kind of smoothly take over.
GG.
Absolutely. But it's not just about performance.
Okay.
The documentation also points out some security concerns considerations
Sad
with
times.
serialization,
Right.
especially preventing XSS vulnerabilities.
Of course, security is always crucial.
Yeah.
We can't just blindly trust data coming from the server.
Exactly.
And speaking
Are
of
you
things
sure?
we can't blindly trust,
Right.
the
Speaking of,
documentation also brings up potential issues
Yep.
with
Speaking
server-side
of,
rendering
I
and memory.
think we will finish. That's 30 minutes long. That's crazy. We will have to finish this up next time. I gotta call it for the evening. But if there's a particular topic or something that you want to hear about, you can post it on Twitter, YouTube, or whatever. I'm happy to do this again because it makes me feel semi-productive while I'm playing video games, which is helpful. But yeah, we're gonna call it there. Thanks for stopping by. If you were, I see I have like 38 eyeballs on the X, which means probably at least 3 people didn't scroll away immediately to give the impression. So thank you for sticking.